What is blood pressure? Blood pressure is the force of blood. Systolic blood pressure is the pressure measured at the moment of a heart contraction when the arteries become dilated. Diastolic blood pressure is the pressure measured when the arterial wall returns to its original diameter during diastole. If your daily blood pressure is consistently high, this condition is referred to as hypertension. Hypertension is a condition in which resting blood pressure exceeds the upper limit of a normal range. Standard values used in hospitals are 140 millimeters of mercury
Two
or higher
types
for
of blood
systolic blood pressure and 90 millimeters of mercury.
Six ways to prevent high blood pressures or hypertension. The best way to prevent high blood pressure is to lead a healthy lifestyle, eating a healthy diet, low salt and high in fruits and vegetables. Maintain a healthy weight. Exercise regularly. Avoid smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke. Limit alcohol intake. Reducing stress. Management strategy of hypertension. Take medication as prescribed by a healthcare provider. Monitor blood pressure regularly. Follow a healthy diet and exercise regime. Manage stress levels. Avoid smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke.
Diabetes refers to a group of conditions characterized by a high level of blood glucose, commonly referred to as blood sugar. Too much sugar in the blood can cause serious, sometimes life-threatening health problems. There are two types of chronic diabetic conditions: type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Pregnant women may acquire a transient form of the disease called gestational diabetes, which usually resolves after the birth of the baby. Prediabetes is when the blood sugar level is at the borderline, higher than normal, but lower than in diabetics. Prediabetes may or may not progress to diabetes. During food digestion, carbohydrates, or carbs, break down into glucose, which is carried by the bloodstream to various organs of the body. Insulin is a hormone produced by beta cells of the pancreas and is necessary for glucose intake by target cells. In healthy people, beta cells of the pancreas produce insulin. Insulin binds to its receptors on target cells and induce glucose intake. In type 1 diabetes, beta cells of the pancreas are destroyed by the immune system by mistake. The reason why this happens is unclear, but genetic factors are believed to play a major role. Insulin production is reduced. Less insulin binds to its receptor on target cells. Less glucose is taken into the cells. More glucose stays in the blood. Type 1 is characterized by early onset. Symptoms commonly start suddenly and before the age of 20. Type 1 diabetes is normally managed with insulin injection. Type 1 diabetics are therefore insulin dependent. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas produces enough insulin, but something goes wrong either with receptor binding or insulin signaling inside the target cells. The cells are not responsive to insulin and therefore cannot import glucose. Glucose stays in the blood. In other words, type 2 diabetics are insulin resistant. Here again, genetic factors predispose susceptibility to the disease, but it is believed that lifestyle plays a very important role in type 2. Typically, obesity, inactive lifestyle, and unhealthy diet are associated with higher risk of type 2 diabetes. Type 2 is characterized by adult onset. Symptoms usually appear gradually and start after the age of 30. Type 2 diabetes accounts for about 80 to 90% of all diabetics. Management focuses on weight loss and
A healthy diet, low salt and high in fruits and vegetables. Maintain a healthy weight. Exercise regularly. Avoid smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke. Limit alcohol intake. Reducing stress. Management strategy of diabetes. Take medication as prescribed by a healthcare provider. Monitor blood sugar levels regularly. Follow a healthy diet and exercise regime. Manage stress levels. Avoid smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke.
Dengue. Dengue is a mosquito-borne and pandemic-prone viral infection prevalent in many parts of the world. Virus. Dengue is caused by a virus belonging to the Flaviviridae family, of which there are 4 distinct serotypes: dengue virus 1, dengue virus 2, dengue virus 3, and dengue virus 4. It is important to have knowledge of these serotypes because recovery from a dengue infection will provide lifelong immunity against that serotype only. Subsequent infections from other serotypes will increase the risk of developing severe disease. Transmission. The virus is spread via the bite of a mosquito, mostly by Aedes aegypti, and to a lesser extent by Aedes albopictus mosquito. Important to note here is the fact that these very same mosquitoes are involved in the spread of other viral diseases, including chikungunya and Zika. The mosquito can become infectious when it bites an infected individual. It then carries the dengue virus and injects them into another individual during its next meal. Dengue doesn't spread directly from one patient to the next. These mosquitoes can typically be found laying eggs near standing water in containers that hold water like buckets, bowls, animal dishes, and others. The incubation period of dengue is 4 to 10 days once the mosquito has bitten the individual. Symptoms. Dengue can cause a wide range of symptoms in a patient, from a subclinical disease in which the patient might be unaware of the infection, to a severe infection, in which the patient exhibits severe flu-like symptoms. The symptoms of dengue include high-grade fever around 40 degrees C or 104 Fahrenheit, along with nausea, vomiting, which is generally non-bilious, rash, aches and pains typically involving the area behind the eye, which is termed as retroorbital pain, severe headache, generalized muscle pain, and joint pains. In case of a mild encounter, the patient will recover in about a week. In some cases, however, symptoms can worsen and become life-threatening. Blood vessels become affected adversely and eventually get leaky. The clot-forming platelets in the blood decrease in number, which leads to increased susceptibility of the patient to bleed. This condition is known as severe dengue or dengue hemorrhagic fever. This is characterized by severe abdominal pain, persistent vomiting at least 3 times in 24 hours, bleeding from the patient's nose, called epistaxis, bleeding from gums, bleeding under the skin, which appears like purplish bruises, feeling tired and restless, blood in the urine, also known as hematuria, blood observed in the stool and vomit, and eventually the patient can slip into shock. They may have cold, clammy skin, tachycardia, and hypertension.